But I would like to welcome everybody here to Midweek Matters this evening, where we're really pleased to be joined by Stuart from Andy's Man Club. And Stuart is the regional area lead at Andy's Man Club South. And he himself first attended Andy's Man Club about 2.5 years ago for his own benefit, his own support. Um, and and it's been beneficial place for him and so many other men across the new UK, no matter what their backgrounds are, and I believe not, no matter what their abilities are too. And so we're really, really pleased to have Stuart here to talk to us about Andy's Man Club, what they do, what the charity offers, and some of the benefits, I think. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Andy, who is going to talk to us this evening. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, Emma. Lovely to meet you all, guys, and really appreciate you having me on the call this evening. Just to give you a outline, Andy's Man Club, we are a suicide prevention charity. We will be talking about just as a quick trigger warning, we will be talking about the subject of suicide and mental health today. So just please bear with us. If you feel like you need to step out the call or turn your camera off, please do so. And you can always, I guess, pick up with Emma afterwards, once the session stops, etc. But we won't go too deep. I would really want to talk to you about how important it is to talk. And Andy's Man Club was started in 2016 due to the sad loss of Andy at the age of 23, who took his life. But his brother-in-law decided, let's make something positive out of this and create a space where guys can come and talk. You know, we don't talk enough, us guys. We'll quite happily talk about our maybe going and watching the football, what our favourite TV programmes are, but we don't necessarily talk about our mental health. And Luke decided that there was a real need for a space where the non-judgmental space where people could come along to and talk about their problems. And the reason behind that is, and I'm just going to go through a few figures now. I won't dwell on those figures, everybody, but I'll just go through a few figures now. The reason why men need to talk, why we need to break that stigma that, you know, we have to hide behind those masks sometimes and show that we're stronger than we are, and not talk about our emotions, not talk about our problems. Oh. There we go. So it's because over 4,900 men take their own life every year in the UK. And that's 12 men every day, one man every 2 hours. When you take your average working shift of 8 hours, you know, that sort of thing, you know, you'd be losing 4 men. And suicide is the biggest killer of men under the age of 54. You know, we're more likely to take our life than die by illness, disease, accidents in the workplace, etc. And I think, you know, it's really key to understand that, you know, a lot of that comes from, you know, loneliness, feeling not part of something, you know. And what Andy's Man Club does is create that space on a Monday night where you can come together, feel the purpose. We do have an online group, which I'll talk about shortly as well, which is fully accessible. And I'll talk a little bit more about how the club runs and what to expect if you come along to an Andy's Man Club. But so following Andrew's suicide, Luke decided to start the coffee club. The first club was held in June of 2000. He put out a post in June of 2016 on Facebook, and he got a response. And the very first group was held on the 4th of July 2016. 9 men walked through the door that night. And when you take into account that was up in Halifax in Yorkshire, certainly where the stigma around men talking was certainly there, it was really important those 9 men walked through the door that night. Then Luke came up with the hashtag It's Okay to Talk campaign. I think this is where it really stands, you know, that we can talk about our problems, we can talk about our emotions as much as we can talk about our physical health. You know, we'll go to the doctors and maybe talk about our physical health, but do we go to the doctors and talk about our mental health as much? Probably not. So Luke created the hashtag It's Okay to Talk campaign to be able to reach out to everybody, no matter who you are, to tell you that it's okay to talk. And it's become one of the biggest mental health campaigns on the planet. Over 100 million taking part. And that's included all sorts of people from Hollywood stars, sports professionals. Shortly after that, this man, I think we all know who Ricky Gervais probably is. He come alongside Luke and said, "Come on, guys, let's get talking. Let's. It's okay to talk." Ricky obviously being really prominent on social media, and then later on, I don't know if anyone's seen the TV series Afterlife, where Ricky it focused on mental health. It really started to gather some momentum behind the men talking and reaching out to sports and those sort of active like where people go along or watch watching on the telly, etc., where guys talk about the football like we said earlier, talk about everything that's going on, but do they necessarily talk about what's going on up in their heads? Probably not so much. And that's reaching out to all sorts of people, right through to, from football. But not only that, reaching out to having this call this evening is so important, letting you guys know that there's a safe place to come and talk about your problems. Maybe that stuff that builds up on a weekly, monthly basis. There is somewhere safe you can come and talk. And about our younger generations also, if we're going to see that stigma, those figures reduce, we need to tell our younger generations that it's okay to talk to anybody and be that listener about anything, absolutely anything. And that's a really important part of the process is, if we're going to see those numbers reduce, then we need to tell everybody that it's okay to talk. So Andy's Man Club obviously started 8.5 years ago. 9 guys walked through the door in Halifax. We now have 265 clubs across the UK. If anybody wants to be able to access, I will talk about the online as well as shortly, but if anybody wants to find their local group, if they pop on to andysmanclub.co.uk, and what I'll do, Emma, is I'll send you over all the details that you can put out alongside this so that everybody has the access to the website, etc. But you can pop in your postcode, your town, and you'll be able to find what clubs are near you. They're all fully accessible, and you'll be greeted by a team of lovely facilitators who are all guys that have walked through the door at some point. So we're open to any man over the age of 18 and wanting to talk to other like-minded men. And that really is what it all is. You sit in that room on a Monday night, you can have 20 plus guys in the room, but everybody's from different backgrounds, everybody's walks of life, different mindsets, different ways of thinking, etc. But everybody in that room on a Monday night has the same outlook, which is to share some problems, lighten the load, and be able to talk to each other in a common way, make it more comfortable subject to talk about our problems, show our emotions. All of our clubs, including the online, are open every Monday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., except bank holidays. And that's mainly due to some of our venues are closed on bank holidays, so we like to keep it consistent across the UK. And there's absolutely no bookings, no charges, no referrals. Like you don't have to wait for to come along to Andy's Man Club. You can get to a Monday afternoon and think, I just need to talk to someone about what's going on in my life right now. And you can look up your local club or join online, come along, be part of Andy's Man Club, be part of the session and lighten that load and be able to talk about what's going on in your life. We're actually seeing over 5,700 men use our groups every week. And, that can seem quite sad sometimes that there's a lot of guys going through something right now. However, that's 5,700 guys going back to their friends, their family, and their kids. And like I say, the online group as well, while all of our face-to-face clubs are fully accessible, maybe you don't have a club in your area at the moment, or you would just want to find out what Andy's Man Club is, or online sits more, you're happier with online, etc. Then that's a quick email to info@andysmanclub.co.uk. Again, I'll send this over, Emma, so that you can attach it to whatever you put out. But that's a quick email to info@andysmanclub.co.uk on a Monday before 4 p.m. Sorry, where you'll get sent a link out at 7 p.m. to join a room. It won't be hundreds of people in a room. It'll be broken down sort of like 8 to 10 guys in a room. So everybody gets a chance to talk. So what to expect from an AMC session? Well, even the online groups, they're all facilitated by volunteers, all guys that have walked through the door of an Andy's Man Club. You'll be able to turn up. You'll be made a cup of tea, a coffee, a biscuit. Unless you're online, you have to make your own cup of tea and a biscuit, I'm afraid, everybody. But other than that, you turn up, you're made to feel welcome. And then at 7 o'clock, we go through to a room where we sit in a circle. And in that circle, we have a ball. The ball's the talking ball, and it's a really and that works online as well. It's in the same background as all of our face-to-face groups. The ball is really important because the ball's the talking ball. If you've got the ball, it's your chance to talk. If you don't want to talk, you can just pass that ball. And that's where it really makes sense because sometimes we don't want to talk. We just want to listen and not feel alone and be part of something. And that's how the session starts. Each week, we base our sessions on 5 questions, which is how's your week been, a positive from your week, and anything to get off your chest. And that's what we talk about. We go through those first 3 questions. They stay the same every week. And then we have another break where everybody gets a chance to have a cup of tea, talk generally about maybe something's resonated with you within the session, etc. That's where the magic really happens, is because guys will talk to each other, they'll make new friendships, it builds your confidence to open up and talk about things to each other, and create those conversations naturally more than we ever have done. After the break, after question 3, we have 2 further questions. Those questions are much more light-hearted, thought-provoking, to let everybody leave with a smile on their face. Like, what would you be doing for your well-being next week? Or what's your favorite movie, TV quote? If you had a billboard, what would you put on it? You know, those sort of things that can create a bit of banter among the guys in the room. You can imagine what 5,000 guys want to put on billboards across the country. It lifts the mood and makes lets the guys leave with a smile on their face to come back next week and talk a bit more. So that's pretty much how an AMC session runs. There is 4 things we don't talk about and within a session, and that's politics, religion, medication, and criminal matters, all because they all have their own. We don't want to create anything where someone feels uncomfortable talking. Medication obviously is individual to the individual. So we just like to keep the session running as smooth as possible. So I am that one man. I walked through the door of an Andy's Man Club just over 2.5 years ago now, and I've suffered with my mental health in various ways on and off over the years. I had anxiety really from a young age. I had the stigma around my dad, no fault of my dad's, but like that real sort of sort yourself out, son, pull your socks up. You can do this, get out, you know. And I always wore that mask on my face, I guess, and just went through life thinking I had to man up. I had to show this exterior that was more manly than anything else. So I never showed my emotions, and that anxiety in my mid 30s got to a whole new level that I'd never experienced before. I was working for a well-known retailer, traveling to work on the train every day, and that anxiety built to a level where I started to experience panic attacks, and I didn't know who to talk to. It was new to me. I didn't know how to talk about it, who to talk to about it. I didn't want to talk to my colleagues because I thought I might lose my job. I didn't want to talk to my friends because they're just going to take the mickey out of me. And I didn't want to talk to my family because I didn't want to burden them with it. That just increased and increased to a point that I couldn't see a way out. And it then extended to my wife leaving me on New Year's Eve, and I didn't know where to turn. My mental health I hadn't talked to anybody about it. My pressure pot, my emotional pressure was just at its maximum. And I went through the next year or so really struggling, to the point of that I needed to change stuff up. So I left retail. It was causing a lot of my anxieties, and I decided to do my MVQ in painting and decorating. and I set up my own business. The next few years were okay. I was back on that level playing field. And in 2016, the one person I could talk to, which was my mum, sadly passed away. And I then went back down that round that cycle again. The cycle come back where I wasn't talking, I distanced myself from family and friends and stuck myself into work, etc. Hid myself away, if I'm honest. And um, I was living in my own flat and I didn't know where to turn. I just became very socially anxious, very distant from everybody. That cycle I did come out of again. And then in 2019, I met my girlfriend Abby. And yeah, things were okay again. Things were on that level playing field that we like to be on with our mental health. But then 2020, the pandemic hit, and I struggled again because I remember sitting there when we went into lockdown, and I lost all my work overnight. I couldn't go into people's houses, I couldn't go onto site, etc. So I lost all my work overnight. The anxiety instantly come back, and yeah, I didn't want to talk about it. It was, just that constant cycle, and I went through that whole cycle over the months again. I then Abby had been out for lunch with one of her friends, and someone had spoke about Andy's Man Club, and she come home that afternoon and mentioned it to me. I then found out that there was a club opening in my local area in a few weeks' time, and I built myself up to go along that first night. I thought I've got to try something, I've got to try and get out of this cycle. I didn't want to talk to my GP. I didn't want to talk to my friends, family, etc. So I thought I'd go along and give it a
My
go.
main email address.
And I went along that first night and sat there in the car park, ready with my anxiety boiling up.
My email.
Wasn't sure what I was walking into, but I did end up through that door that night. And for the first time in my life, I sat in that room that first night and I was able to talk about the ball started coming round and guys were talking about their problems, their emotions in such a way that I'd never experienced before. And it was really nice to be able to open up and talk about just those general life stuff, that stuff that builds up on a daily or a weekly basis. And that load lightened. I felt the weight lift and I was able to move forward. Things started to change the way I spoke to people, my friends, my family, etc. I was able to open up more, express how I felt, and get that extra support I needed as well, which was through counselling and therapy, which is also, so important. Talking's the start of it, but we sometimes need that extra help to get through. Over the weeks, months, I then started to volunteer for the Basildon Andy's Man Club. And then later on, October of 2023, I had the fortunate opportunity to work for the charity, to get out there, spreading the word, to doing calls like we're doing tonight, reaching out to that next one man, telling everybody that we can talk about our problems, we can show our emotions. And I just want everybody to experience that it is okay to talk. So my anxiety probably 3 years ago, I probably wouldn't even be able to join the call with you today because it just would have boiled over and I wouldn't have been able to talk. But it really has helped me understand myself a little bit more, be able to talk about my problems on a regular basis, have that purpose in life, that I can reach out. I know that if something happens on a Wednesday, I've got Monday to go and talk about it if I need to. And there's always someone in that room that resonates with me. And you'll experience that face to face or online. If you walk in, coming through those doors, that's where we really like you'll see that everybody just fits in, slots in. If I could pick that up and put it out in the world, everybody, I would, because it's really one place where everybody can come together and support each other. I think we've won several awards over the years since we've been going, but the best award is seeing that man come through the door on a Monday night and just be able to, with the weight of the world on their shoulders sometimes, but leave with a smile on their face is what it's all about. And seeing them open up, seeing as the weeks go by that they're able to talk things through, get that stuff off, lighten the load, see the light at the end of the tunnel come a bit nearer, be part of something. We do a lot of activities outside of Andy's Man Club, also outside of a Monday night, also where everybody comes together, meets up for a coffee, or goes out and just general midweek chats, etc. So it's not just that Monday night feeling. So there you go, everybody. That's Andy's Man Club. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have or anything you want to ask me about my journey or what we talk about on a Monday night. Please follow us at andysmanclub.co.uk. Pop us if you want any further information or you want to join the online sessions. It's a quick email to info@andysmanclub. Please, if you're on social media, follow us on the social media platforms. You'll see all sorts of things that are going on, how we collaborate with other organisations and signpost to other organisations, etc. So yeah, please follow us. But after this call, at least remember that it's okay to talk. Thanks for being on the call this evening, everybody.
Thank you so much, Stuart. Thank you for sharing all of that information with us. It's really useful. Just before I open up to questions, I just wanted to put some context around mental health and anxiety and depression that we find within the CP community, probably somewhere I should have started. But sometimes I feel like if I understand that it's not just me, then that also makes me think about things a bit differently, and that's why these groups have been so useful. But just I know that cerebral palsy is predominantly seen as a physical disability, but what we know within the community is that incidents of depression and particularly anxiety are quite high within the community, and we don't 100% know why that might be. We do know that the prevalence of anxiety and depression is very high. And so some of the reasons that people have talked about and that are exploring in terms of research and understanding is around if you have difficulty with your physical health, that can have an impact on your mental health in terms of pain, in terms of difficulties with sleep, in terms of difficulties finding accessible healthcare. Those are understandable reasons why you might feel that things are difficult for you. Also, we know that people with CP sometimes feel more socially isolated than other people with cerebral palsy. It's harder to get out and meet your friends and touch base with other people. And that might be a reason why we see an increased risk incidence of depression and anxiety in the community. And what is lovely to hear about Mandy's Man Club is that all of their face-to-face sessions are accessible, and I'm sure a quick email to them to let them know what your accessible needs are might be useful before you go, and I'm sure they can talk you through that, and also that there are online opportunities. But just also to tell you, because you all know how much I love research and what the current thinking is in terms of understanding cerebral palsy a little bit better, is that some of the things that we might have difficulty with if we've got cerebral palsy is what we call our executive function, or our ability to plan and organise. And if you have a difficulty with planning and organising things, it can increase your risk of being anxious because things feel less in your control. So that might be a reason why we see an increased risk of anxiety. And lastly, something that was hot off the press for me when I went to conference a couple of weeks ago, you may or may not remember me talking about going to Copenhagen to talk about the early detection of cerebral palsy and what we know about when we can first discover that people have cerebral palsy. And one thing that I learned there was that in terms of anxiety, we see a higher risk of anxiety with people who have been born prematurely. I don't know the reasons for that, But certainly that is the most common reason that some of these doctors were talking about as to why we see a higher instance of anxiety. And that was kind of what they call the common denominator between everybody that was born early was a risk of anxiety. So many of us who have been born with cerebral palsy, prematurity is one of the biggest reasons for behind people with cerebral palsy. And so it perhaps doesn't surprise me then that we see lots of instances of anxiety in our community. I just wanted to share that with you. Perhaps just to also say that if you are feeling anxious, if you are feeling that depression has been something part of your life, that you aren't alone. You aren't alone within all the men that Stuart have talked about, and you're certainly not alone in terms of the people who live with cerebral palsy within our community. And we also know that being able to connect with people, being able to talk is one of the biggest ways that we can support people with anxiety and with depression. So Andy's Man Club is a huge resource for our community too. So thank you very much, Stuart, for sharing that. And I will put out all the links and all the information after this session. But Stuart has really kindly offered to open up the chat and answer some questions and be part of our conversation this evening. So I will hand over to all of you with your questions. Perhaps if we ask Stuart to stop sharing, then we can see each other slightly better on our screen. There we go. And I might, that's right, and I shall remove the spotlight. There we go, so everybody can be seen. And let's have a look at the chat and see if there is any conversations.
Got a couple in there, one from
I
think.
Do you want to say, Rachel, how many Andy Man's clubs do you have across the southeast of England area?
So Catherine, we obviously, from the talk, we're predominantly we predominantly started in Yorkshire up north. We are expanding down south at the moment. We're currently in Essex, Cambridgeshire, London, and then right down onto the south coast. I don't know where you're from, Catherine, like sort of what area of the southeast you're from, but there's 5 clubs in Essex: Southend, Basildon, Chelmsford, Hockley, Romford, and then we go into London where we've got Hammersmith, Euston, Barnet, Ponders End, and then out sort of down to Surrey Way, Caterham, Guildford, Woking, and then down onto the south coast: Gosport, Portsmouth, Southampton, Littlehampton, Brighton, hopefully soon, and then right across to sort of Weymouth, Bournemouth, and then right into Devon, South Wales. So the south of England is really growing, and we're opening new doors all the time. To the idea of Andy's Man Club is to have a club within 30 minutes of every man in the UK. That's our mission. So yeah, we'll keep working towards that.
Thank you for your heart, Rachel. Becky, did you want to ask your question? Hello, nice to see you.
Hi, Becky.
It told me it wasn't working. It is working, right?
Yeah, hi.
My question was just sort of a more general question. I'm here more as an ally to men than anything else, and it was: are there any tips for women trying to encourage men to go to these sessions, of ways to, because you don't want to sort of nobble someone continuously, especially if they're not feeling at their best, but equally you want people to try and get some help if it's there and available.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the key there is the signposting side of it, Becky. Maybe I can certainly if you contact info@andysmanclub, which we'll put in, Emma's going to put in the link anyway. They'll be able to send you some cards and leaflets out, so that you can sort of share those cards, leaflets. It's about just starting that conversation. Just if you think someone's struggling or going through something right now, just I guess it's that gentle approach. I mean, with my anxiety, if someone come up to me and goes, "You need to do something about this," I would have just gone, "What?" Like, and it's about being able to, like I said, the first question in group, yeah. If we asked how are you to the guys on a Monday night, the ball would probably go around really quickly because everybody would go, "I'm okay." Um, by leaving that, using those open questions like "How's your week been?" It starts that thought process, and you're able to sort of go, "Yeah, my week's been okay, but my anxiety was really it starts to naturally come out, if you know what I mean. My anxiety was really high on Thursday, and I really struggled. I didn't get out of the house, and it starts that natural conversation. So as nat as a natural conversation, and just the signposting side of it, maybe share some Facebook links, maybe share some a card or a leaflet, leave those lying around, that someone can pick up and sort of have a look and maybe check it out for themselves. We're very as men, we're very unusual with the we want to go away and check it out for ourselves before we really want to talk about it. So yeah, that's probably the easiest advice I can give you, Becky.
And and adding to that, Stuart, if I'm not being too personal, how did you feel when your girlfriend suggested Andy's Man Club to you? Did you have those
Uh,
similar thoughts?
I'll be honest with you. She handed me one of the cards, and I put it in my back pocket and done the typical bloke thing and went, "Cheers, thanks," and forgot about that card. However, a little bit more to my story. During the pandemic, that whole feeling of anxiety come back because I didn't know what was going on in the world. The anxiety started to build, the panic attacks come back, and I thought, here we go again. I come home one afternoon after I was back at work, and I come home one afternoon and I sat on the bed and I had my head in my hands, and I've just when that pressure builds up and you're just like, what can I do? For whatever reason, that card was on the bedside table. And on that card, it said, are you going through a storm, or have you just been through one? Yeah. And it was at that moment I went, that's exactly how I felt all my life. Like, get caught up in these storms, I can't get out of them. And I ended up sat up there on my phone I went onto Andy's Man Club website, and that's how I found out there was a club opening in Basildon.
Sometimes I feel like the universe offers us the
I
answer if we ask.
I think so. I think so.
Bill, I'm going to give you some time. Did you want to say something? Yeah, I'll let you type your message.
Angry. I am battling for a few months. I hate myself. It is get angry. I am battling for a few months. I hate myself. It is get angry.
So you don't like yourself when you get angry, Bill? No. Do you think something like Andy's Man Club could be useful for you?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Well, maybe on their website you could put in your postcode and see if there's one near you, or perhaps try the online.
Yes.
Yeah. And Stuart, this is one thing that Miriam wanted me to ask you. In terms of somebody who might need to come with a support worker, or somebody that's supporting them, how does that work? Have you seen that happen before, or?
So, due to it being men only on a Monday night, it would have to be a male support worker. But yeah, no problems at all.
That's something maybe to think about, Bill.
We,
Sorry.
Bill, we get all sorts of people come along. We get fathers and sons come along, people with their support workers, their carers, just to sit with them and talk sometimes, Bill. And it really does help. It really is a welcoming place. And that non-judgmental, you'll feel part of it.
Brilliant. And Tony's done his usual research, quick research. You
Yeah, I
always
saw that.
amaze me, Tony. There's 20 clubs within 25k of Manchester. Wow.
Yes, yeah. So where we are predominantly up there, Tony, as well, is you know, those clubs naturally unfold and keep growing, whereas we're sort of very much pocketed down, if that makes sense, down in the south, where we've got like pockets in Essex, etc. Whereas up north, it runs along that M62 corridor, like out of Halifax, like to Manchester, Liverpool one side, to Newcastle and you know, Yorkshire, York, and then down to sort of Hull and Grimsby the other side, and that's why there's so many more clubs up there. But thanks for that, Tony.
Tony, did you want to say something? Go for it.
I said that about Manchester because Becky works in Manchester, where I live in Berkshire. So I'm at the other end of the country. I'm really looking forward to tonight. I went I went to my first session with Andy Club online 4 weeks ago, and I found it a bit overwhelming at first. But by the third session, it was nice to see people I recognised and I knew something of. And I'm really glad to be there. And I know that there have been men that have been going for 2 or 3 now and make a regular thing of being there on Monday night. And I think I will continue my attendance. I've got a lot out of it. And I agree with you, it's just good to be there and listen. And it is nice to speak eventually.
Brilliant. Well, I'm glad that you found that as a resource. How did you find Andy's Man Club, Tony?
Well, I looked on the website because I knew Stuart was coming. So I just contacted info at Andy's Man Club. And they sent me a link so that I could fill out the weekly form and send that in so that I could start on Monday. I'm disappointed not to go there 2 days ago, but I was too tired and had to go to bed. So I'm really looking forward to Monday night again. I mean, it's nice hearing other people's stories, and I guess having started to get to know people and hear about the problems. It's a bit of a soap opera. One is interested to find out how things went for other people. I guess that's one reason for continuing to go. And it's nice to take in what everyone else is saying. And then when one has a chance to get things off one's chest, to try and start talking about things that are relevant to the other concerns that have already been raised, and that seems to get a good reaction if you can acknowledge implicitly the other things, the other members of the core are going by. I'm really impressed by what I've seen so far, and would encourage more people to go.
Thank
Love
you,
that.
Tony. Love that.
Mm.
And I love the
Thank you,
fact that you
Tony.
heard about it
That's
through
really,
Midweek Matters. Sorry, Stuart. Go for it.
that's, yeah, no, thank you, Tony. Love that, mate. Thank you.
That's really good. Does anybody else have a question or a comment or something to add? Everyone's gone a bit quiet. I guess as as a as a woman on here, um, do you know of other organisations that work similarly for women?
There
Do
is
you,
actually a really good online women's well-being. It's called the Women's Wellbeing Club.
Mm,
Um, it's actually not affiliated to AM's Andy's Man Club in any way. However, it's been started by some partners, wives of staff and facilitators up in Scotland.
mhm.
They have 16 clubs at the moment up in Scotland, so it's predominantly Scotland. However, it runs in exactly the same format as Andy's Man Club, as I explained this evening. But it's for women, and it runs on a Tuesday night, 7 till 9, and has their own online platform as well.
Tuesday 7 till 9, and they have online. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
And do you think that it's as because it's just as needed, but as creatures, do we need something different, or can we benefit from the same structure? Or
I think it's the same. I think from what I gather, obviously I haven't joined their many
no?
meetings because it's only women. However, from what I gather from speaking to others, is the conversations can be very, whereas we might take some weeks to open up about something. We'll have guys come along that may sit there for 6, 8 weeks sometimes and just listen, just to not feel alone, to feel part of something, to understand that they're not alone in how their feelings that they have. Whereas what I understand with the women's, you're more likely to open up instantly, straight away, talk about everything that's going on in your life. But the supportive side of things is still very much there.
Yeah, no, but I'm just looking at Becky's message at the same time. I will
Yeah.
definitely put that information out too. Do you think, I don't know what anybody else thinks, but I was reading something the other day that said that in terms of the way women have friendships and men have friendships, we use friendship in a different way, or we communicate in a different way with our friendships. Do you think that might have something to do with it? I know that when my husband comes home from seeing his friends and I say, "What's news?" and he said, "Oh, I don't know. We played football, or I don't
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
we talked about football, or
Yeah,
you know."
yeah, yeah. I think that is a very good point, Emma, and it goes to show, even in my relationship, I'll go out with my mates, and where we've got like joint friendships, like Abby might have, like, we go out as couples and stuff, and like Abby will ask me when I come home, like if I go out with, say, my friend Paul, and I'll come home and she'll go, oh, and how's Joe doing? I don't know. Didn't even talk about it.
Yeah, that sounds very familiar. Whereas
Yeah.
um,
I think there's definitely a different outlook and different conversation. We tend to have different conversations. I think women would probably pick up the phone a lot easier than a man would to a friend to talk about if they're struggling or etc. We might open up a bit more face to face, but not we're not going to all of a sudden pick up and go, actually, I need some help.
yeah. And also, you talked quite a bit about the pandemic. I know that's where these groups started, and it's something that I struggled with, particularly in relationship to stress, feeling quite stressed, particularly because at some points we didn't know how at risk somebody with cerebral palsy was to COVID, and that made me feel very stressed. But also living with a young family all together in under one roof with no space was
Yeah, yeah,
also
yeah.
really difficult. But and a lot of the reading that I did around and subsequently was the way that people deal with stress.
Hmm.
And there are lots of different ways. And I realised so the difference between my husband and actually my sons, the way that they deal with stress is they go for a long walk, or they like to be outside, or they like to be on their own. So my husband was always encouraged, well, go for a walk, go and get some space, go and I was like, I don't want that. That's not what's going to help me. And then reading all of this information about stress and the different ways that different people deal with it. Some people deal with their stress by by being social, by being
Yeah, yeah,
connected
yeah,
with
yeah.
other people. And
Yeah.
I realized very strongly that the reason that the pandemic hit me so hard was because it cut off my social connections, and I found that really difficult.
Difficult, yeah.
And become very aware that the way that I deal with stress is by going and having a cup of tea or a cup of coffee with a close friend, and then I feel 20 times better than I did before I started. Whereas for my husband, it's going for a walk on his own for an hour or walking the dog, and then he will feel the same way, but that we all get different things from different.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think I'll be honest with you, I think I struggled more, everybody coming out of the pandemic, than I was when I was in it, because actually, other than the uncertainty of what was going on in the world, I was quite happy to shut myself away.
Mm.
It was coming out the other side and rejoining society that I struggled with more so than I did during. So
Yeah, no, and I know
Yes.
very stereotypical, but I know lots of men's husbands who really enjoyed the pandemic because it meant they didn't need to be
I
social and that they could be at home. Yeah. Paul, you've had your hand up for a while, sorry.
No, it's fine. It's two things. I was going to say, men and women, men and women. Could be a
was.
bit stereotypical, but a man brings up his mate and says, "Do you want to go to the pub?" Yes, I'll see you a week. See you at the end of the week. Bye bye. Whereas a woman would ring up their friend, "Do you want to go out for a drink?" "Oh, yeah, that'd be good." And then they have a whole conversation and, it goes on. And that is very stereotypical. But I think it's true. And I've heard that talking about in the pandemic, men like to be on their own. Um, yeah, I agree. I love being on my own. If I've got a day when I don't have to see anybody, I look forward to that. And I don't know whether that's a positive attitude, but yeah,
I think, Paul, if you're happy with your own time and you're happy in your own space, then it's absolutely okay.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. You can tell my friends that. Thank you.
Katie, you've been listening intently. Is there anything you wanted to add to the conversation? Have I put you on the spot? I think you're still on mute, Katie. Oh, there we go.
I said, no, it's very interesting. Thank you.
So you're listening. That's good.
Thanks, Katie.
Victor, are you listening to us today? I don't know.
Yes, sorry, yes, I am. I am
That's
here.
okay.
Um,
Is there anything that you
like,
wanted to add? You're a slightly different, you live in a slightly different area, don't you?
yeah, I live down in the south, Essex area. So, um, I'll have a look, see what's around in the Essex sort of area. But yeah, it sounds good. From everything I've heard, so far is really interesting.
Great, Victor.
Because on a societal standpoint, stereotypes for men are off the scale. You know, don't you've got to be stoic
Hmm.
and all that standard stuff. And not, I'm not saying it's all women, but there are women that push that, and they literally tear you down if you show any sort of emotion. So, I'm not saying it's all women, not by a long shot. That is perfect example of what perfect to do, actually. But I digress.
I
That's
think it
my
doesn't matter who you are, Victor. Male or female. I
That's
think.
my partner.
Sorry,
Sorry, that's my partner, Abby.
no, that's right.
Anyway, carry on.
Sorry, Stuart, you were saying?
Yeah, I think it's I think men are often I come from a construction background not that long ago, and after my retail career I went into construction, obviously as a painter and decorator, and like that background there is like I can remember driving to work sometimes crying and but get to the site and I'd get out the van and put on this bravado, this stand up, because I felt I had to be seen to be this man. And I now know that that's very far from the truth, and we can talk about our problems, we can talk about our emotions, but still be that person, still be stoic and still be human, manly, but also keep everything a bit lighter and be able to talk about those things.
Yeah. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? That to be vulnerable is a sign of strength. Well, that's what I believe. So it's a misunderstanding that to show that you're emotional, the showing that you asking for help is a sign of weakness. Actually, I think it's a huge sign of strength. Um, and I don't know how anybody, I'm going to put something out, and I don't know how, but we've talked quite a lot on here previously about internal ableism, like the society that we live in, and the beliefs that we carry, that we, in order to, in some ways, show ourselves as strong and capable, we believe or that we need to be better than other people or achieve more in order to show our worth. That's some of the common themes that I've heard of recently, believing that you have to always be at your best. And I think that has meant for some of us that asking for help was something that we didn't want to do so readily. And I know it's combining two different subjects, but I think what we very much do here at Up is kind of encourage people to ask for help and support when they need it. That it's not a sign of weakness; it's a sign of strength. That's whether you're a man or a woman. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about that, people. But that's certainly what lots of calls and people that I've been talking to lately feel. At least I'm.
I think once you've started talking and asked for help, it's much easier to for it to continue. It's like there's a big log jam in our heads that we can't, that once we get beyond that, it's much easier. But it is for me.
Definitely, Paul.
I have had difficulties.
Worrying.
Stuart, you were saying? Sorry, I missed.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Paul. Once the conversation starts and you feel more comfortable with that conversation, it really does change things up because you become more comfortable with having
About
initially whether that's with an individual or in a group. And then that extends to being able to have more comfortable conversations. Like I'm sure, like I can see from sat on this call today, you guys have been on this call. I don't know, like how long, ever long you've joined this call. You're all very comfortable talking to each other and expressing your feelings, and that can only extend. That's all Andy's Man Club is that group atmosphere where you get the confidence to talk about whether it's your CB or whether it's your mental health, or whether it's just general health, or whether it's once you start to build that confidence, everything becomes a lot more easier. And I think that's if we take anything away from the call today, let's talk about it and make it more comfortable and common to talk about it. Thanks, Paul, for that.
Anger.
Bill, did you want to talk to us?
Mum is worrying about me, my anger. Mum is worrying about me, my anger.
Yeah.
Mum is worrying about me, my anger.
So your mum's worried about you, Bill?
About me, my anger.
Yeah.
Mum is worrying about me, my anger.
Well, maybe Andy's Man Club might be somewhere where you can go and talk, but I know that you've been seeking other support too, haven't you? And what I heard from Stuart's presentation was both the value of Andy's Man Club, and then was I right in saying that when people start to come and talk and open up at Andy's Man Club, then they may be more willing to access more conventions, more therapies, and so it's a combination of everything, isn't it? Knowing what's out there for you. Yeah.
Yes.
Good. Rachel, I was just wondering, and this is me being slightly nosy as I always am, is that you said that you knew a few people that go to Andy's Man Club. Is that something that's just come up in conversation, or how did that come up? I'm just wondering how open people are about going to things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Okay, well maybe we'll ask her later on. Okay, well,
just on the move, guys. I won't be a second.
That's all right. Just general conversation. Okay. So I think, that's one thing that I would say is that if you are going to Andy's Man Club, if you are seeking support either from Andy's Man Club or anywhere else, that I think the more that we talk about it in society and make it a normal part of everyday life and something that you're not embarrassed by, and that you share it, that maybe people learn from your experiences. They might not say it, but they might hear and listen to some of the things that you do and then go and follow suit. That's certainly been my experience. I do like your cat, Stuart. He's really nice. Tony, did you have your hand up before and then it disappeared?
Yeah. I had an incident last summer where I ended up in A&E, and as a result of that, I got referred to makeup to write a safety plan, and that was a very useful exercise. And then talking about various organisations locally that you can drop it in on. But one of the things I didn't talk about was Anti's Back Club. And it would have been very helpful to have heard about that time. And I think I might actually contact the cup worker that I was in contact with to complete my safety plan, because I don't know how much asking how much contact you've had with men club, but it certainly would have helped to know about the Andes man. And also I just on the on Respiratory Council, there are various organisations covering almost everything, and I don't think Andy's Man Club is on that, and so it would be good if there was a greater awareness or seeming awareness of the organisation.
And Stuart talked about the connections that Andy's Man Club has as a signposting organisation. Do other organisations know about you, Stuart?
Yeah, we actively, you know, that when I spoke to obviously Miriam initially, that's why I wanted to be, you know, love to be a part of this call today, because it really is important that we know, everybody knows each other and everybody knows what other support networks are out there, including, you know, clinical help as well. You know, we actively work alongside social prescribers, NHS as well, to be able to, you know, no matter what background you're coming from, where you're coming from, what support network you're coming through, if we all know about each other, if I get someone come to one of my clubs on a Monday with cerebral palsy, like if they don't know about you, I can go, you really should try this. You know, I've been a part of your call tonight, and I really appreciate that. But I know now that there's also another safe space where you all come together and talk, and you know, it's knowing all the ins and outs of that, I think is really key. So yeah, we try to spread the word as much as possible. And as Tony said, you know, like it's the most important thing is raising that awareness. And I'm sure that's what all of you do. You know, you raise as much awareness about your side of things, and you know, we'll continue to do that. And I'm more than happy to join whenever you know, whenever, and you know, be a part of your network as well. So.
That's brilliant. I think that you work in the same ethos as we do here at Up. So just to remind everybody in a good segue that we will have Andy's Man Club's details up on our website, so that anybody accessing the website will see links to local organisations that we've connected with over the last few years to direct people to those safe spaces. And also we will put this up on YouTube for anybody who hasn't attended today to come and listen, as is all of our Midweek Matters calls. So if there is a subject that you're interested in, or somebody else that you're talking to might be interested in listening to, they are up on our YouTube channel, which is why we started to collate them there so that everybody could benefit. And I don't know whether you saw, Bill, but just to underline Tony's offer, he said that he would be willing to attend one of the online sessions with you, Bill, if you wanted to go at a time where Tony's there, if that would be helpful. Then I will leave you to liaise if that's something that you want to do. But that's a really lovely offer. Thank you, Tony, and I'm sure that Bill will take you up on it if he wants to do so. And I liked your comment, Rachel, in terms of I guess the way I read that is about making it normal, making it just part of society and part of community, that there are opportunities to go and talk when you need to, and to know that, you know, I have a little bit of a bugbear when we talk about mental health, because that has the connotation at the moment that that's poor mental health. We all have mental health, like we all have physical health, and sometimes our physical health is better than other times, and sometimes our mental health is better than other times, and sometimes the normal fluctuations in our physical and mental health are okay, but when things get extreme, we might want a little bit more support. And I think Stuart's story has kind of illustrated that he's dipped in and out of having times when his mental health was more of an issue for him than others, and that when he was ready, he reached out for some support. And that's what I hope that this call provides everybody with, is the resource to know that when you need that help, there is help available. Again, Andy's Man Club, one of the reasons that we put midweek matters midweek on a Wednesday between 6:30 and 8 o'clock is because one of the things that I wanted the community to know is that there was always a place to come, and that we will always be here at 6:30 on a Wednesday night for anybody who wants to come and connect with the community. And it sounds like Andy's Man Club works by the similar ethos. So there's always someone there between 7 and 9 on a Monday evening, and so I guess that's what we can ask for, to raise the profile of the need for better support for mental health and for men's mental health. And it's good to know that there is the Women's Wellbeing Club too. So as the women on this call, we can act as advocates and supporters for the men in our lives, or for the people that we meet, to tell them about Andy's Man Club. But we will also put the details for women's wellbeing up on our website too. And we also might find some other on our website in our section that talks about mental health. There is also some other resources too. So.
Have you heard of the Hub of Hope?
No, can you tell us more about that?
So the Hub of Hope, this is for everybody. So the Hub of Hope is an app that you can download, and you pop in your postcode, and no matter what you're going through, it could be absolutely anything. But if you pop in your postcode, you'll be absolutely shocked, I think, of how much support is in your area. When I first found it and started to look up other support networks within my area, it was really apparent that there is support out there. We just, we don't always go looking for it, do we? But that's an app that you can download. I'll send you the link to that as well, Emma, so that you can pop it out on the thing.
Brilliant, thank you. That's really good. I'm sorry, I keep muting. I have my family making lots of noise in the background. I didn't want it to disrupt the call. But I would just like to take this opportunity to say thanks, Stuart, for coming this evening and to tell us all about it. Thank you to everyone who's been really open and shared their thoughts and their opinions this evening. Please share this as a resource to anybody that you know that might benefit from that kind of support. And we will put all the information up on our website as soon as we can.